There was a butcher who ran a successful business in a small town. Everyone in town brought their meat from his shop. One day, the butcher discovered that someone was stealing meat from his storehouse behind his shop. Every night, one of his sides of beef or his pork chops would disappear. This was a real problem because it was causing him to lose a lot of money. So he finally decided that he needed to do something about it. One night, after he closed his shop, the butcher went out to the storehouse. He switched off the lights and stood there in darkness, clutching his meat cleaver and waiting for the thief to arrive. He did not have to wait too long because soon a black cat came slinking in through the gap in the door. It was the biggest cat the butcher had ever seen in his life. The cat jumped up and tried to pull down one leg of the lamb that was hanging from the ceiling. The butcher quickly switched on the lights and the cat turned and stared at him. Instead of running away, the cat jumped at him and tried to bite him. The butcher was taken by surprise. He swung his meat cleaver and chopped off one of the cat's paws. The cat let out a terrible kind of a scream and began spitting and yowling and tearing around the room. Then it ran out the door and disappeared for good. The butcher looked down, expecting to see the cat's paw, but instead he saw a woman's hand that had been cut at the wrist, which was wriggling around in the pool of blood on the floor. The next morning, when the butcher was opening up his shop, one of his neighbors came running down the road, crying out for help. He said that his wife had been in an accident. The butcher, being a good man, ran to the man's home to see if there was anything he could do to help them. When he got there, he saw the man's wife sitting in a chair by the fire. She was clutching her arm and crying out in pain. Her hand had been cut off and there was nothing but a bloody stump. Yet the strangest thing about his wife was that she was spitting and yowling just like a cat. The butcher told everyone in town what he had seen and done. That night, all the people in the town took the woman out to the deserted field and burned her alive because they knew that she was a witch. Joseph was running down a street, but he had no idea why. His heart was racing as fast as it could, and all he could hear was his own heartbeat in his ears as he ran down the cobblestone street. Was he dreaming or was he awake? Was all this really happening or was he just having a nightmare? He was not very sure about that. It was night and the sky was pitch black. The only light coming was from street lamps which illuminated the deserted and unfamiliar streets. He did not recognize any of the streets, which was very surprising for Joseph because he knew his way around the city. He did not know where he was, but yet he kept running. He could not remember where he had come from and he had no idea where he was going either. All he knew was that he had to run. Something was after him, something horrible, something unthinkable, and he had to get away. On the other hand, if it was a dream, then why couldn't he wake up like other dreams when he has full control over his dream? And if it was not a dream, then where was he and how did he get there? He turned a corner and saw that there was a man standing at the end of the street, so Joseph ran up to him and asked him for help. The man turned around and grinned. His grin became wider and wider, revealing a set of razor-sharp teeth. They looked almost like a shark's teeth. That was when Joseph noticed his eyes. They were completely black, cold, and dead like a shark. Joseph was looking at a man who had teeth of a shark and the eyes. Joseph could recognize the shark's teeth and eyes because he watches too much of Discovery Channel normally. So Joseph ran. He ran up on one street and down another. Then he came to a dead end and quickly turned around and ran into the opposite direction. All this time he kept looking over his shoulder, worried that the man with the teeth was following him. Just then he bumped into someone. He looked up and saw that it was a policeman. With a sigh of relief, Joseph asked the policeman for help. The policeman turned around and grinned. His grin became wider and wider, revealing the set of razor-sharp teeth he had. They looked almost like shark's teeth. That was when Joseph noticed his eyes. They were completely black, cold, and dead, just like a shark. So Joseph ran. Just after a while, he ran through an alleyway and jumped over a gate. He then ran down a narrow road and came out to a darkened street. Then he realized that the street looked familiar. He had been there before. He realized that it was a street just near to his house, so he ran. And then he could see his house up ahead. Joseph woke up with a loud scream. He realized that he was back in his own bed. It was all just a dream, so he took a breath of relief. His heart was beating fast and he was covered in cold sweat, but he was still relieved to be home, safe and sound in his own bedroom. His parents came running into the room with a look of concern on their faces. "What's wrong?" asked his mother. Joseph told her that he had a nightmare. He explained to them that he kept seeing people with shark teeth and he kept running away again and again, but still could not run from the people with sharp teeth. His mother and father both started grinning at this point. Their grins became wider and wider, revealing two sets of razor-sharp teeth. They looked almost like the teeth of a shark, and that was when Joseph noticed their eyes. They were completely black, cold, and dead, just like a shark. "Why do you keep running away?" asked his mother. "You know, honey, you can't escape," said his father. So, Horror Jam fans, I hope you enjoyed the stories. If you did, kindly share it with your friends. You can also tell me your own stories at the email address given down below and subscribe for more such stories.